Welcome to Marriage LLC, the podcast for entrepreneurial couples navigating the intersection of love and business. Whether one or both of you are business owners, we dive into the real conversations about balancing marriage, entrepreneurship, and everything in between. Together, we'll explore how to nurture self-purpose, strengthen your relationship, and grow a thriving business without sacrificing what matters most. You want to go ladies first? Katie, why don't you go first? Who are
Sure.
you?
Yes. So let's see, business wise, I'll start with me first, I guess.
What's your name?
I'm Katie.
I'm Alex.
And he didn't know how to pronounce that when he first met me.
With a
actually,
D. Katie with a
Yes,
D.
on our first date, that was something he had to ask. And he asked it at the end of the date after 2.5 hours of conversation.
I did not say Katie for 2.5 hours.
He finally got bold enough to ask how to say my name.
Hey, you.
That's actually what I did.
You like the picture I was looking at?
Yeah.
So we actually were both Arizona natives, and he left for a little while in the midst of some middle school, right? But I've lived here my whole life, just kind of bounced around Arizona. We met after both of us were done with college, so we were both into our adult life. And yeah, just kind of knew pretty much immediate. He knew immediately. I knew probably like the fourth or fifth date, this is probably going somewhere serious. So we dated very seriously and very quickly. Got married after 14 months of knowing each other.
Whoa, you guys.
We got engaged after 7.
Yeah.
Whoa, you guys.
We actually talked. We actually had the conversation. We met in February. In July, we said, "Hey, let's get married." And I didn't propose until
Yeah.
September. But yeah, it was very fast. But when you know, you know. And
When
we
you
were
know, you
both-
don't waste time. Yeah.
Yeah, we were adults, so
Yeah.
go for it.
How old were you? You both of you when that happened?
I was
26.
22.
Was I 25?
You were 25 when we
When
met.
we first
Yeah.
met. Mm-hmm.
So I was 22, she was 25. We got married a year later.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and the rest is history. As
Yeah.
they say.
Just real quick, what was the reception from like your family and friends? Were they like, "What are you guys doing?" Or were they
they
just
love
supportive?
They loved us. I have 2 brothers, so there's not very many women in my family. So having someone as wonderful as Katie come into our
Aw.
family was great. My parents love her, so I think your parents thought actually Katie just has a sister, so I think we
Well,
were
my
both.
parents loved you too.
Oh yeah, I
so-
think just everyone was just so accepting.
I don't know. It was very affirming. It was interesting because you would think not having any personal connections, like we met online. So you would think like not having that, like, oh, you knew this person or any history together, that our parents would have been a little, like, they're both pretty conservative. They would have been a little more worried, but I feel like they just knew, like, I don't know. We both had a good, I don't know, instinct about each other. And
Well, the cool
it
thing
was
about
great.
online dating, and we didn't do it much. Like,
Oh, that's right. You guys met.
yeah, she was my
Yeah, that's
only
right.
online date. So, but the cool thing was we both had some little line
Something
about
about our
going to
faith,
church,
yeah.
about God and how that was important. So like when you meet the person, you immediately know, okay, we have all this stuff in common. So we just knew on the first date, like, okay, this person is obviously you can lie, but we could tell it. We could tell we were being truthful. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, you're great.
Well, you were exactly what you represented of yourself as. So
pretty much.
yeah. Except for you're not a dog person.
That's true.
That he told me he was a dog person.
No, I said I had a dog.
He's not a dog person.
I like dogs. They're nice.
That's the one thing that you misled me on.
That's true. It worked okay.
I always say, Alex, I'm with you, man. I don't hate dogs. I like dogs, but I really love your dogs because they stay with you.
Yeah.
Aw,
I like our dog. It's a nice. We have a dog.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
it's great. You're not even a
She's
boy or a
great.
girl.
Yeah, they're fantastic. No, I'm kidding. Keep going. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, so you want to talk about the business? Or
Yeah,
maybe
fast
2 years
forward.
into
Yeah,
the
so we got
marriage?
married after a year, 2 years into our marriage. I have always wanted to start a business. I probably have 3 business plans, business ideas, inventions a week. And usually they get shot down pretty quick by Katie, but this one she went, you know what? That's kind of cool,
Yeah, people
actually.
that I would love that if you gave me that, and
Yeah.
people would actually really need that. And that's something that we had kind of wanted and needed in our own marriage and had struggled to find. And we probably went through for like a year in our marriage without him buying me any intimate gifts and me going, "Hey, can you buy anything in this area? Can you be more romantic?" And he finally got brave enough, you know, in the first year of marriage, if you're not like super clear in your communication, you learn that you have to be more
Mm-hmm.
straightforward with each other. And so about a year in, he was finally like, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable looking online for this stuff. I kind of want to honor you in that part of our marriage." And I went, "Oh, that, I don't know why I didn't think of that. That makes perfect sense. Thanks for doing that." And then that's kind of where the idea came from. Is like,
Yeah.
hey, there's probably a lot of other people that maybe they do buy gifts for each other, but there's always that in the back of their minds that there's this comparison game, there's these other
Mm.
people on the screen that they don't want to look at, or maybe they just don't have time to plan out, they don't know which sites to pick that would feel comfortable and high quality. And we were like, hey, this is a big need, especially in the Christian community. And his idea was just, I don't know, it just made sense for our marriage. And then we started looking it up and couldn't find anybody else that was making a fully planned date night for you in this area. And we were like, hey, this
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so we did it. We started posting stuff online and people started reaching out and going, hey, this is amazing.
we're
Like,
so excited about it.
we would love this for our marriage. Like, and it just kind of grew from
We were
there.
sending it to pastors and marriage therapists and coaches and stuff. And one of the pastors
Whoa.
emailed us back and said, "Thank you so much." He said, "I haven't bought my wife lingerie for 17 years
Yeah.
Wow.
because I don't want to go shopping, and I am so excited to give her this."
Yeah.
Wow. So what's the name of your business? And like what all it's not just lingerie though, right? It's you have like boxes and kits for date nights, right? Go
Yeah.
like talk about that.
Yeah, so our business is Every Love. We do a sexy day night in a box. So it's everything you need for a complete date night. We give you ideas. There are usually 5 to 7 intimacy themed items, related items in the box. Kind of the main items, the lingerie. So every box has a piece of lingerie, and then usually some intimacy items in there, and just it's all designed around one theme. Each date night has a theme to it, and then we give 3 different, we call them sexy scenarios, just kind of like ideas on how to use the items, connecting activities. We've worked with a lot of marriage and family therapists to have really good activities in the boxes that just are great for emotional connection and physical connection. So it's just kind of this all around date night in a box for you and your spouse to use.
It's that solution for the busy married couple that wants
Mm.
to spice up their marriage without compromising their values.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So do you say you meet with marriage counselors and other people, but do you come up with the scenarios or is it like how does that work? What does that look like?
Most of the time we come up with the majority of stuff, and
And then we
sometimes,
have it reviewed.
yeah, then we kind of have it reviewed and tweaked. And just because we're not marriage therapists, I don't have any of those degrees. I used to be a nurse, so I don't necessarily have that expertise, but yeah, we come up with everything by ourselves, and then if there's ever any little tweaks that they add, yeah.
And sometimes they add resources for us as well. Like we've included resources from other sex therapists or marriage coaches, but mainly the box ideas are created by us.
Yeah.
I love that. So you say you're both Christians. It's both a pretty big part of your relationship and your family. Um, I just I never put those two together, like intimacy and Christianity together. Like it never occurred to me. I mean, not that it shouldn't, but it just never did. It's always seemed like it's taboo. What was the reception like? I mean, you called a little bit about a pastor coming to you and saying, "Well, thank you," but overall, was the reception warm? Was it kind of meh? What was that like? But other Christians, I should say.
Yeah, I think overwhelmingly it's been positive. I agree. We've seen from a lot of people the same feelings you had of it's kind of this thing that's not usually talked about, but we see it as such a big thing in your marriage. Intimacy was created by God. It's this amazing thing. We love sex. Like everything about it is perfect, and we don't think it should be looked at as like separate things. We think they should be together. So that's why, as you know, we've grown up in the church and we've been Christians, the majority of our lives. So when we got married, I always tell a funny story. The guy who did our pre-marriage counseling, the only thing he covered about sex and intimacy was, he was like, what are your guys' expectations about frequency? And I was like, I don't know, like, 4 or 5 times a week. And Katie was like, I don't know, a couple times a month. And he was like, and he laughed. And he laughed. And this is a great guy. We love him. He married us. But he laughed and was like, you guys should figure that out. And that was it. So
Wow.
that's another aspect of like this whole business, was getting couples to talk about this more and giving them resources about how to talk about it, because we had no idea, and that led to a lot of conflict early on. But back to your original question, overwhelmingly, the majority of people we talk to are super excited about it.
It's been very refreshing for them almost. Like they say they're excited that Christians are in this space talking about it, providing a resource that is so needed, giving them an option that they actually feel like they're excited to support and get behind. And refreshing in their marriage, almost like coming as a relief, because it is an area that's so needed. And now they feel like they can enjoy that area fully and still feel like they're honoring God. I do feel like there's a little bit of pushback when we ask people to share, because that's kind of another step out into like, oh, I'm sharing something that feels very intimate to me. It's a very personal and generally private topic. And I think that just kind of shows us that the more pushback we get in getting our message out there, the more there is a battle in that space. The world is kind of yelling about sex, and they're yelling the wrong things. And so Christians need to show up and not necessarily be louder, but just be there and be present to speak truth into that area and to reclaim what God has made and to enjoy it the way it's supposed to be enjoyed. And that's one of the biggest lights we can be in our marriage.
You know what? That is a very, very good point. Like, I never thought of it that way, where, it always seems that when it comes to sex and intimacy, it's always the other side. And what I mean by that is like the OnlyFans and all that, what I'm saying? All that other stuff. And we forget that I know what you mean. It's like Christians need to, or even people who don't subscribe to that part, need to come out and say, we love it because we love each other. This is part of our marriage. This is part of why I married this person. I find them attractive. And because of that, I want to have sex with them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I think you're right. I totally agree. There has to be more of a voice from the Christians and just from people, like I said, who don't subscribe to that other side. That's a really good point by you. Yeah. So when did you decide it was going to be a business? Because I'm guessing it started, no pun intended, as a passion project. So when did you decide to be like, okay, well, we're gonna go all in and let's make this a business? And what was that conversation like?
Yeah, I mean, we spent probably 6 months just on the concept, building the website, before we even had a sale.
Making like a mock box of what it would look like.
And then we kind of launched, and it's funny, we talk about often, we launched and said, if we sell 25 boxes, in the next 6 months, we'll keep going. And it's just kept being that. Like, and now we've sent out thousands and thousands of boxes.
Do you know how many you have? Like, do you have a number? Like, do you know that number?
He would have to check.
Yeah, it's got to be getting to the 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 now.
That's incredible, you guys.
Yeah, it's been really cool. We never thought, I mean, you start a business and you go, oh, I would love if this blew up and, went crazy, but we never thought we'd be here. And then actually just, what has it been, 3 months now? I actually quit my job and we are doing it full time, both of us. So.
Oh, that's right. You quit your.
Well, Katie raises the babies, during the day, and then.
Oh yeah.
Shows up for podcasts.
Helps with design and stuff. All the stuff I can't do, she does. But Yeah, so really in the last 6 months has been like, hey, this is something we can do full time
Mhm.
as a business together and be home more. I was a nurse, so it was long hours away from
Mm,
feeding the kids, so that's been fantastic. But
that is awesome. Yeah. I think, once you make that leap and you have a partner, like my wife and I told you guys, my wife and I have her business. We've had it for ever, it seems like 13 years, I think. But it just makes, it can make the process just that much easier. Not easier, but we're going to talk about this. This is actually a good segue. When you have a vision together, it makes it easier for at least decision making. It makes the money talk a lot easier. It makes all of that so much easier. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your vision and how do you define vision in both your business and in your marriage?
Vision.
we like vision.
I think vision would be, as a definition, your goals, and then underneath that, the underlying values that dictate why you chose those goals.
Hmm.
And then that will kind of shape and determine all the decisions you make and the lens through which you view those decisions and when you make which ones, what the priorities are, and just kind of how you move forward towards what and at what times.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always been since the beginning, I think I told you we talked about marriage about 4 months into dating. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think even that was on a long uh car ride, I think. And I feel like that was like our first like vision talk. That
Mm-hmm.
was like, what are your dreams? Like, what do you want? That's when we decided to get married, pretty early on. So like we just had this big long talk about, where are we at, what we want in the future. I think that ever since then, there's just been check-ins along the way of obviously things change, you have kids, you move, jobs change. But I think just frequently checking in with each other too is a huge part of vision and dreaming and just aligning as a couple for sure.
Yeah. Do you find that do you have, and maybe even thought about it, like your marriage vision and your business vision overlap, or are they kind of? Have you talked about that? Like,
Yeah, I would say definitely.
Mm-hmm.
We actually so much so that we built a warehouse for our business on our property, so I can
oh,
just work out. I can work out back, so like I come
That's
in
where we're
for
at
lunch.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I can go in for lunch and see the kids in the morning. I don't have to commute. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we've really used the business to integrate our personal and business lives, just so that everything works together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of aspects.
not only even just like the convenience of the fact that the business is here and it allows you to be even more present as a dad and a husband,
mm,
but and it wasn't even intentional necessarily, but our goal and our priority as a married couple, to prioritize that above almost anything else, has been greatly strengthened by our business because we're constantly looking in that space and encouraging other couples to prioritize their connection and their intimacy and learning
mm.
from marriage coaches. We've just kind of eaten up all of that and used it for our marriage and really benefited, I think, way more by just leaps and bounds, and invested. Like, when I, like, 3 years in, I think we wanted to get a mentor, a marriage mentor, a counselor, and we kept kind of trying to reach out to people and it just wasn't working out. It's kind of hard to find that, sometimes. And even within our church, we have a really small church, and so everybody was kind of just stretched too thin to get anything consistent going. So we ended up paying for a relationship coach, and they happened to be somebody that also like helped us with our business. And I don't know if we would have known to do that had we not been looking for, we were looking for a business coach. And
Mm.
so we just see kind of how our business and our relationship has grown almost simultaneously in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and the business has, like Katie said, like we feel like we are the ones who have benefited most from this business just because we're working on it 24/7. We have to come up with these ideas and then we have to use these ideas and make sure they're good. And
Mhm.
so that's
Yeah.
just been a really big blessing from the business for sure, is just our personal life. which is cool to have a business that flows into your personal life so much so that it can actually change you and change your relationship.
It definitely wasn't without pushback, though.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like when we first started, we were not on the same page about how to run a business, how often we were going to work, which direction it was going. We had to really work through a lot of that. And I'm a pretty high stress person, so I definitely couldn't handle a lot of the way like we first started, and it caused probably, honestly, I would say the majority of conflict in our marriage for that first probably year and a half of our business, until we figured out kind of how to run things together.
That's good. You're right.
I'm
You're right.
laughing. I'm laughing because Alex and I kind of look at each other at the same time. It's like, I got one of those. I got one of those too. She's my wife.
I would say I'm like 80% of the conflict is probably on my end.
But I'm like, and I don't know how your relationship is though, but I'm more of a ask for forgiveness than permission type of a person. And Angie's more of, I gotta follow this. But it's a great balance. And it seems like you two found, balance each other out. What was one of
that's such a good point. We did that exactly. Like I
Mhm.
think we're very similar in those aspects. And I've grown so much. Katie has helped me so much as like a businessman, and helped me grow so much and how to do stuff and learning.
You've helped me as a person. I feel like just learning how to go with the flow and trust God and relax and rely on Him, because even though He does it differently than I do it, He makes it happen, and He always comes through for us and protects and supports and provides. And yeah.
Amen. Amen to that,
Just
sister.
learning.
And look, I don't mean to preach, but like the moment, like, and my wife and I we got baptized. I tell you, we got baptized about a month ago.
Oh wow!
And
Congratulations.
yeah, it was awesome. And one of the things that, I don't want to speak for her. She's very introverted. That's why she doesn't do this stuff. But she doesn't care if I talk about it, as far as I know.
Is that ask for forgiveness?
Exactly.
She'll let me know after I air the podcast if she cares.
But, that's one thing that she struggled with. And I think we all do a little bit, is we want to have control over every aspect of our life. And the moment you can give, especially when it comes to finances and things like that, if you can give that just away to God and understand, like, it's never going to be perfect, but He will provide for you. And like that part, when she was speaking with her baptism, her going over, her I forgot they call it, her testimony, it hit hard because I understood what she was going through, and living that with her, and then seeing her change really was like, wow, this is powerful. You know what I mean? I don't mean to preach, but like when you said that,
It's true.
It's
It's
just-
real. It's how it is.
it really is. Yeah, for real. Okay, so let's go back to your business and what your business does. Why do you think it's so important for married couples to talk about intimacy, and why do you think it's so difficult for them to do that too? I mean, they're married. Why don't they want to talk about that stuff, you think?
I will answer the difficulty part because I think we know that very well. I think, like I was saying, I think a lot of couples don't ever get any advice or education on how to do that. And they have these expectations, like whether you think it or not, you have expectations, especially when it relates to sex, especially in our generation that's grown up, with the media the way it is. I think you just have these expectations, and then you come to this marriage, you don't want to talk about it, and you are experiencing these things. And yeah, I just think there's not a lot of education out there about how to have those conversations.
Amen. Yep.
And then when things are hard, it almost makes it harder, because especially with intimacy, especially in the most case, I think for women, I think that's what happened, with you a lot, is like when things were hard, it just made you not want to talk about it more.
I think there's a big fear of either rejection or of it not the conversation ending you on a farther page than you already are, or of a fear of hurting someone else's feelings, because it's such a personal thing. Like it's literally called intimacy, right? And so that's a reflection of knowing who your spouse is more than anyone else ever will, and more deeply and more true. And with that territory comes so much vulnerability that when it doesn't go the way that you're hoping it would go, and let's be honest, like the expectations that are put on this area are so huge, they're rarely talked about, but they're so high based on just the media, whatever you hear from friends, your own imagination. There's just these expectations of if it goes this and this way, then I feel like I'm worthy, I feel loved, I feel, like I'm a woman or I'm a man. And then if it doesn't, then, oh, this person doesn't care about me, or I'm weak, or, whatever the lies that we tell ourselves without even realizing it, then how do we bring those things up when they're not working? And I think you just have to start talking about it. You just have to bring it up and fall on that person and let them catch you. And then it gets easier because you realize that even if you disagree about it, or there's something hard to talk about, that you'll get through it, and then it'll be better because you talked about it, and then just step up from there.
Just talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what the question was.
I know.
No. That's fine. That was perfect. So it sounds like, and I agree, but it sounds like couples should even talk about that before they get married. Like that should be part of that conversation, right? And I know that doesn't happen.
No, like we said, it didn't happen for us, and we know just from talking. We get to talk to a lot of like engaged couples as well, and we try to like talk to them as much as possible and give them any resources we can, just because we know most engaged pre-marriage counseling or whatever you go through hardly touches it, and we feel like it's one of the biggest. Like once you get down like your core values, honestly, I feel like intimacy is probably the biggest thing you should talk about.
When you're thriving in your intimate life, everything else kind of falls into place, because it means the emotional connection is there, the trust is there. As long as you're like actually connecting and you're making it a vulnerable part of who you are, I think everything else just kind of can center itself, or it's on the flip side a reflection of the rest of your marriage doing well, if you're firing on all cylinders in that area.
Wow, that's really good. So I want to man, that's really well put. Like if the intimacy is on point, everything else might just fall, like it can fall into place easier. Right?
Yeah, I think the majority of the time that's how I think. I think a lot of people talk about, well, if everything else is going well, then you're in
right. Yeah.
And that's kind of the.
But sometimes there's a roadblock the other way, and I would call out, I think, especially women, because we usually want to connect emotionally first. And I don't want to say like just go and do it even if you don't feel like it, but sometimes it's like, hey, if you love someone, get in there and see where the night goes and be open to connecting in whatever way might happen, even if you don't feel like they held the door open for you, or they asked you the right questions during the day to show you that they cared. Like maybe your spouse needs to feel like you are willing to be open to them, and then all of a sudden afterwards they're ready to open up emotionally. And maybe you're like missing that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic in the way we were created. Of women need the emotional aspect first, and men sometimes need the physical aspect first. But it can be this beautiful thing of like giving to each other. That when it's both there, it's just this wonderful relationship, and your intimacy life just explodes. And the man wants to do all this emotional stuff for the woman, and the woman wants to do all this physical stuff for the man, and it's just this thing that I think kind of morphs into this like beautiful relationship.
Oh yeah.
It's a cycle that just builds off of every other part of it. So.
Yeah. What's the when you're talking to a lot of these couples, and specifically the ones who are probably been married, do you get an age rate? Do you have an age range of who you communicate with, or does it vary? Is it very broad?
A lot of like newlywed and young parents, And then we have a really large portion of like empty nester age, or kids
Okay.
getting into high school, more busy, less involvement with the kids.
Perfect.
Well, it's really cool to speak. I feel like we really hit all the life events, and we're getting to learn a ton about, because we have young kids, so we're in that era right now, or whatever you'd call it. But we get to talk to a lot of empty nesters and get their feedback, and get to help them a lot, which is really fun. To begin to help these people who are so much further along than we are. But that's just been really cool to be able to speak to so many different.
Well, that's such a crucial piece in your marriage, when your children are not like the center. And of course, your marriage should always be first, but to be honest, most people, and just because children require so much energy and attention, and we do love them so much, most people put their children and their business and their work
Job,
and all of those things at the center. And then when the kids grow up, have they maintained that connection? Do they know how to talk to each other when there's no bedtime routine and it's just them for 2 hours before they go to bed?
Or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, what are you doing? 6 hours.
Oh yeah. I think I told you guys, like, every age group has a stage, and they're all great, and they all have their ups and downs. But the one thing that's constant is the lack of sleep. Like, it doesn't matter how old, it doesn't matter what age and what stage their kids are in. The sleep is always going to be at an all-time low. Seems like.
That's depressing.
Yeah.
I valued my sleep more before.
Yeah, we should have slept more. Wait on a year to have kids. No, it's fine. We love
so
No, we like the one we had first. It's all right.
they get better.
Yeah.
How old are yours again? You have one, right? One or
4
two?
and 2. We have 2. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're wild.
They're great.
They're
We
great.
love
Did
them.
you did you guys, are they boys, girl, one of each?
One of each. Yep.
So who's older?
The boy.
Oh,
Yep. Our son's older. Yeah.
so did you experience the terrible threes and not the terrible twos?
What do you think?
What does it mean when they're just always crazy?
I think we hit the terrible 2s at like 20 months.
Yeah. He's like such an interesting dynamic of, like, we think he's the coolest kid ever,
He's so
but he's
cool.
also like so bullheaded
He's
that
like hurricane.
yeah,
Walker.
it's just like love him so much, and then he does this crazy stuff.
He's
He's
like a combination, because he's very smart. So
He's-
he's a combination of like already pretty good conversation, even at just barely 4, and then also like just wild. Like he's still licking doorknobs. What?
Or randomly scream, and it's just like. But yeah, no, we genuinely think our kids are like the coolest kids on planet Earth. Like, and
you
sure
should.
everyone does.
You
Ours
should.
are actually the coolest kids on Earth, but
You should. I've always said, and I'll go back to the business, but I always thought, like, marriage or business, having a business is like having a child, and you raise it, you groom it, you shape it, you make it so it can sustain itself, and then eventually you have to say, let it go. And that part is hard for a lot of business owners. And what I mean by let it go is let it do its own thing. If that means you hire a manager or whatever that next level looks like. So I'm asking you, as parents now and as business owners, where do you see the business in the next 10, 15 years? And are you ready to send it off and let it experience its own world?
yeah, I think so. I think we just see it. We've just kind of seen constant growth since the beginning.
I would say it's been the first 1.5 to 2 years was very slow growth,
Yeah.
with him working full-time as a nurse
Yeah.
and us kind of playing tug of war. So I honestly still feel like we're in an early
Infancy,
stage
yeah.
in terms of like we're still figuring out how we want our ads to work for us. And we have one employee that helps us keep up with box packaging, and that's it. Like, we do everything else right now. So we're definitely still in that earlier phase, but in 10 to 15 years, we would love to see this kind of sweep the nation and us need, a bigger warehouse. And just because we want to reach more marriages, we would love it to be like the go-to when you think of having a night in with your spouse, you want to get an Every Love box. And that to just be as widespread as McDonald's.
Wow. You got some big vision, babe.
Big vision.
McDonald's,
That's
wow.
usually you.
I was gonna say like
That's-
in a box or something. But
Well, but with a more fine dining, we should pick a fine dining restaurant because it is a luxury box.
it'd be like an Outback steak.
Well, that's not.
There you go.
How about, what's a really fancy restaurant that we wouldn't afford to eat at?
We don't eat there, so I don't.
I don't know because we don't.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. I have no idea. Well, if you do the McDonald's thing, that would change the term for the Happy Meal 100%.
I promise the quality is better.
Yeah. I'm not gonna continue that joke because it could get a little.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
You're gonna
Oh,
let
yeah.
you guys imagine the rest.
You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. So I want to go back to the couples that you talk to. Is there a common how do I put it? Is there something that all these couples have in common that kind of impedes them from talking about intimacy or getting into intimacy, or is there a trigger that wants them to reach out to you to explore their intimacy more? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's a good
I
question.
kind of feel like most of the couples we talk to are at the point in their marriage where they're good.
They're happy.
They value their marriage. They're not like in relationship turmoil. They care about each other. They want to prioritize each other, and most of them do. But maybe they're just not sure where to go next. Like, especially those empty nesters are more working towards that stage of life. They've just been at it a long time, and it's very routine, and they're happy and they communicate pretty well, but they want to prioritize their relationship more, and they don't know what the next step is. And then they find us and they realize, oh my goodness, this is obvious. This is the no-brainer next step because it lets us spice up our marriage. It lets us try new things. It pushes us out of our comfort zones in all the right ways. We still get to honor God in our relationship. We have time for this now. Like, we don't have to plan it. We know it's going to be great, even though it's doing something we've never tried before. We know that they've already kind of checked it and foolproofed it with marriage therapists and creative brains working on it. So it's just kind of like that next step for them.
Yeah, Katie always makes fun of me because my answer to this question is always just talk to your spouse. That's what we've noticed the most is people just don't talk, especially about intimacy. So anyway, like pretty much every box we send out, there's some sort of activity in it that involves talking, and we give questions. So not only like you actually don't even have to think for the most part. Like you can just read through our scenarios and ask the questions, and it will just like help you and your spouse connect in so many ways.
It'll
But
take
Do you have? I'm
yourself
sorry.
figuring out.
Do you have a box that I could see or not?
Yeah, grab one of those.
Are those
The one on the other side of the table. Not that one. Yeah, those are our welcome box. Yeah, we'll show you a welcome box.
That'd be awesome. And like I really, really, really like the fact that your lingerie is model free lingerie.
Yeah.
That
was huge for us because one of I'll share a funny story is so I was a nurse, so I was working in hospitals, and Katie asked me to get her lingerie early on in our marriage. So I would sign up, you'd give your email to get the discount. And then I'd be like at work on lunch checking my email, and there'd be like these half naked photos on my phone.
Yeah.
And like you're surrounded by like your coworkers, and like you don't want to like look like you're looking at that stuff at work. So that was kind of the main reason for our model free approach. And honestly, we just don't think most of the time there's a need for that kind of advertising.
for real.
Women, like from a woman's perspective, I feel like it's a lot more romantic if he picks it out just from imagining what I'm going to look like in it and not because of what someone else looked like in it. And if I'm going to pick it out, I don't want to see it on someone else that either looks like me or doesn't look like me and then get it home and be like, well, I don't look how it looked in the picture, instead of appreciating the own unique beauty that I have. So it makes it a lot more special and set apart just for us and for our marriage. And across the board, we have a lot of people that aren't Christian that use our boxes, and they love that. They love that it takes the comparison out and it just empowers women to be uniquely beautiful for their husbands.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, you guys. Like it transcends just the Christian faith. I mean, anybody who just, who, like you said, who just wants that intimacy and doesn't want that to be out in the public with everybody else. They want that between, the two of them. It's awesome, and there are more people who want this, and I really think that, man, you guys are doing a great thing, for real.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been so encouraged by that too, just having people, like Katie said, who aren't necessarily identifying as Christian, who go, you know what, why should we be looking at this?
Exactly.
Like, why isn't this an option?
That's so sweet. And it's so refreshing to them. Like,
we
just don't need everyone else in our face. And and it's just special.
Here, Katie's going to show a box.
Awesome.
This is the lingerie this is our
okay.
piece.
So yeah, that's our white chemise. I love that one. This box is a kind of events or anniversary themed style box. It's our welcome box. So this is a card game we've created.
Ooh, Cheers that is cool. And so how many cards are in that?
52, right? 52. And so we have in the scenarios, there's like certain prompts for how to use the questions. But you can also do one a week and it would cover a whole year. If you want to keep using them after you do the scenarios.
And we designed this box to be like a cheers to your relationship, like just celebrating your past, present, future. This is our welcome box, so when people first subscribe, this is what they get.
We get cards.
And it's just a really fun
memories with prompts.
Yeah, just a really nice box of just like having a good time together and kind of thinking about your wedding night.
And then a garter. And this one just reminiscent of your wedding night, the garter. And there's like a playful game with the garter. And then this is our signature body oil. This one's sandalwood vanilla.
Ooh.
And then these strips are awesome. So we got to always throw in some.
What is that?
They're oral.
Those are
oral sex strips. So they're like this. It's like a strip.
Spit that out if you need
it. So we are like, we really like to find like unique things to put in the box. So we found a few brands who we like to work with, who aren't necessarily completely model free. We have not found
we go for as classy as we possibly can with really high quality products that we love. So we tried everything we put in the box is something that we would actually want to receive ourselves and use. And then this one has a necklace in it. We have another game with that as like a romantic gift. This is one of our really sentimental boxes.
Yeah. And then some of them get a lot more sexy and
cookies.
And
cookies.
Yeah. You gotta put a snack in there,
Yeah, you gotta put a snack.
If you haven't had cookies
in bed,
you're missing out.
So how do you decide who came up with the box idea and the stuff things in it? Like,
I think we both
you were the one who wanted it to be a box subscription because he was like, people need to commit to this. They need to know that they're prioritizing their intimacy.
You're right. Yeah.
And people are so busy now that actually putting it on the calendar and making a plan and then preparing for more than 5 minutes for a date night is almost unheard of. Like even us, if we're not intentional, we'll get in the car and I'll scroll on my phone and be like, oh, what should we talk about? And grab a question real quick. And that's like my date night plan instead of being more intentional. And so that's what this box does is it helps people take that part out and still have the connection and the depth that they want in their relationship. And that honestly, that was all you doing the box and the subscription box model so that people didn't just make this a one-time thing, but it became a part of a routine in their marriage that they knew they could count on, and that would continue to build growth in their marriage and continue to give them incredible experiences time and again, where they would have just went to dinner and a movie and went home tired. Maybe they're going to plan, hey, I'm just going to go to the movie, or sorry, just going to go to dinner, and then I'm going to come home and look forward to like an hour with this box, and I'm going to get to use it at least 3 times because the products are full size and the scenarios are ready for me, and that's going to carry me until my next box.
Yeah, and we're even seeing, we were just talking about this, we're seeing a lot more couples who are really good at date night. They are consistent. They go on dates every week, but
Or
they
every other
still,
week, like
you know,
they
or
have
every
a
other week.
rhythm.
Yeah. But our boxes still give them a lot of more like emotionally connecting stuff with the physical as well. So they use it as almost like an addition to their good date night routine, just to like make date nights even better. Just to like provide that kind of intimacy aspect of it. So
That's incredible. So, how do you come up with the ideas of what to put in the box then? Is that just you guys brainstorm, or like how do you come up with like what to put in the box?
There's a little bit of a formula, and then we kind of like go outside the box, so to speak, for some of them. But usually it revolves around a theme, right? I would say we pick a theme first. So that one's called Everlasting Love, and it's reminiscent of your wedding or an anniversary milestone. And so that's why everything's white with a hint of like blue and silver. And then we
Love
go, okay,
that.
well, when I would do an anniversary date or a special milestone, what would I want for that? And then we've got another box that's really creative called Electric Love, and it is a
there's a black
dance.
light.
Yeah, it is like, it almost like, I want to say rave vibes, but in your own home, your own little personal rave. So the playlist is very like upbeat. There's like neon stuff. There's a black light, and the activities go with it. We've got like markers that you draw on each other with, and then those glow. And that goes all together. So I feel like we pick the products. We always do at least a couple of really good intimate products. And then the other products just perfectly fit with the activities we're going to provide. So nothing's random. It's all
very cohesive and works together.
So how many different boxes do you have, different styles or different theme boxes do you have?
So we've made
probably 20
everything.
at
Yeah,
this point.
20.
In the subscription lineup, we're on our 16th box right now, and we just keep making new ones. But we probably made, because we've done some standalone boxes as well. We've done a bridal box, and then we've partnered with different like conferences to give a special box that goes with like the topic they're working on. We did a box for a tantric sex conference. So we had specific products for that box that went along with what they were going to be workshopping.
Yeah, we've done some cool things.
Yeah, looking back.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so maybe I'm more May the 4th be with you, Dave. We can
a Star Wars box.
Custom box.
We'll work on that.
You need to Princess Leia.
I'm not gonna keep going.
No,
there's too many things.
Well, you know, the whole patent thing too. Like a copyright thing. They'll get you. I'm kidding. Cool, guys. Well, I have you for about 7 more minutes. So I want you to give some advice to people who are A, looking to get married, or B, looking, well, one of each. So people who are looking to get married and people who are looking to start a business. What advice would you give them?
Do you want to do married and I'll do
business? And I think
there you go.
Can, like kind of center it around that vision topic.
Yes.
I would say you said I do marriage.
Yeah.
I would say talk about it before you get married if you haven't gotten married yet.
And if you need help talking about it, reach out to us or someone who can give you good resources.
And if, we actually made a newlywed handbook. We'd be happy to give to anybody that reaches out, who's listening to this. But I would say talk about it beforehand, if at all possible. If you're already married, this still applies to you. Just sit down every quarter and have a vision conversation. And because that changes as you go through different seasons in life, there's going to be different needs, there's going to be different dreams that come up. You will grow as people, and you have to be allowed to grow as people. So if you enter your marriage with the expectation that your spouse will never change, you're wrong. And if you enter the marriage with the expectation that your spouse will change in the ways you think they should change, you're also wrong. They're just going to change, and it's going to be the way they're supposed to change, Lord willing, if they're on that path. So look to God together. First of all, pray to get your vision, and then figure out. We kind of talked very briefly about vision being your goals, but then your underlying values. So sometimes your goals might not line up, and then it's feeling like you're playing tug of war. I'll give an example. It's actually Alex starting a business, and me at the beginning of marriage not feeling comfortable doing that because I'm a lot more just like raised as like the 9 to 5 work the same job till you die type of family that I was raised in. And so I felt like, oh, that's not going to be a secure thing for us. We're going to have unstable hours. We're going to have unstable income. It's too risky. I'll be too stressed. And so that would have been a really big tug of war for us. But Alex just went, okay, I'll be a nurse for now. Like, this is what you need. And then he brought up the conversation after there was some trust built again. And then we figured out, okay, well, Alex isn't really happy just being a nurse. He needs to serve in a different capacity. And he wants to be home more. So why do I want him to work a 9 to 5? Or I guess a 7 to 7.
Yeah, 7 to 7.
Why do I want him to work a stable job? And it's because I value security. And that's the value that influenced what I thought my goal needed to be. So where can he fulfill my value of security in his goal of running a business? And we found that by growing it slowly. He stayed a nurse. We grew the business very slowly. And then once we felt comfortable to make the leap, we still made the leap, but held on to a little rope.
Yeah.
Because he has his nursing degree still, and he went what's called PRN, which is where he can work a couple shifts a month, and he can pick up more if we want. So if for some reason we need to spend more money on ads, or we have a really big conference coming up and we don't have the budget because we're still small, we don't have the budget to like provide boxes for everyone all at once, he can pick up a couple shifts, and we can still support our family and pay the bills and run the business, and everything runs smoothly, and I don't worry. And so I feel like that example is just kind of showing that what your goal is doesn't necessarily have to stay exactly the same as long as your values are being met. And that's where, when you get married or before you get married, you should make sure the values align. Most of the goals kind of work together, but the values align. Because then as the goals shift and change with your marriage, you can always find common ground in your values, and you can get creative to align your goals together as a team rather than let them tear you apart.
Love that. That was really well put.
So good at talking.
Yeah, that was really well put. All right, Alex, your turn, bro.
Hey. I will just give my advice from
like,
what.
Ditto for the business.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, what she said.
Do that. No, something I was horrible about in the beginning when we started our business was just communication. And that, I think, would have saved 90% of the fights we had, was just communicating what was going on, like plans I had. Because although we work together on the business, we also work, I would say we actually work more separate. I have my things I do, Katie does her stuff, and then we kind of come together. And now we've learned we need at least weekly meetings of 20 minutes, if not, sometimes we do daily, like, okay, what did I do today? Like, what are we working towards? What are our goals? But yeah, like constant communication for sure. If you are working the business together or separate, or if one of you is working a business and the other is not, I think there needs to be, to build up that trust, especially in a business where it's like it's just you, like that's it. Like no one's telling you what to do. You got to figure it out, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes, but if you're communicating a lot, that'll help a lot when you make those mistakes. If you're just talking to each other a bunch. So that's what I would say. And then a lot of what Katie said.
You want me to do buffer time too.
Buffer time?
creating buffer time in you had mentioned
Oh,
for when you're starting a business.
yeah, a lot of people burn out very quickly because they work
Mm-hmm.
way too many hours on the business, which is so easy to do. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I still had the nursing job, I could come home and work 4 hours that night and spend no time with the family.
Not
And
get enough sleep.
yeah, so definitely like putting that into your schedule and again, having those talks of like, how much are we going to work the business? How much are you going to work your normal job? Just the communication aspect of it has to be there or it's not going to work. Like if we had not figured out the communication, we would like the business would have ended because like we got close a couple times, but um, yeah, I would definitely just talk about it and then yeah, working in terms of scheduling, working those buffer times of like, okay, this is family time. This is we're always going to have family time at this time, or this is business time. Setting those boundaries for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it. I agree. You both are 100% correct, and you guys kind of both touched on it too. Is defining roles
Yeah,
in the marriage, and like, what is your role here, and this is my role here, and this is what I do, and this is what this role that you hold will help keep me accountable, and vice versa. Because that's the other thing that a lot of business owners don't do is keep each other accountable
yeah,
because they're afraid it'll hurt their marriage or something. I don't know. It does. I mean, it can. Like if you let that kind of bleed over like that, and you don't have the communication or the
yeah.
vision.
Well, that's if you have the communication, the accountability is easy because you can
Yeah.
catch it before it's a problem.
Amen.
Whereas when we weren't talking or communicating on a weekly basis, at the least, I think you should be talking about what's going on. I could get way in the hole of doing something and then Katie didn't know about it for a month. And then all of a sudden it comes out and
Oh, this is going on in the business. I had no idea. Like
yeah,
we're planning this whole thing and now I have to do all these creatives for it and and now he like knows to kind of check in sooner and
yeah,
give a little more lead time because he's doing well. That's been an adjustment even more so in the last few months because now that he's full time and I'm still only doing 4 to 5 hours a week on the business most weeks. He gets way farther ahead of me and has to fill me in more quickly because he's just putting in so many more hours naturally.
yeah.
That's good. Do you guys have meetings then? Do you guys get together or do you guys just Alex is like, hey, this is what I did today, blah 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 bloom.
Yeah, we have one usually 20 or 30 minute, just kind of like a debrief a week, and we're trying to do daily.
We're trying to check in like daily before dinner,
Yeah.
just to make sure nothing emergent happened that we need to like handle. But most of the time, you email me throughout the day too. And that's kind of our process. If something comes up that I'm going to handle or he's going to handle, I would say you could add that too to the business advice. Now that we're talking about it, is figure out your roles. So I feel like I had strengths and he had strengths that were different, very different. And instead of assigning the correct tasks to each other, I would like expect him to do his task the way that I would take care of it, and then I would get
Correct.
annoyed at him when he wouldn't. So, for example, he's very quick. He handles things quickly. He gets them done, and then I'm very detail oriented. So I will catch like typos, and I will make like refine things, but I'll take way too long to do it. So it took either I would do the project and it would take me 5 hours when it should have taken me 20 minutes, or he would do the project, it would take him 20 minutes and it would go out with a lot of errors. And so I would get really mad about that. Instead of we finally figured out, okay, well, why don't you do the project and then I'll just glance over it. And that's been like our sweet spot because he does a lot more. You have to put in a lot more hours, and he's very good at getting everything done. Whereas I would just like kind of burn out because I couldn't finish something in time. And me just like checking over things, like he'll do all the projects. I'll make templates for the design and then he'll fill it in and then I'll tweak it so it looks perfect. And so if you just find your strengths and instead of criticizing each other where you're weak, just put yourselves as business people, put yourselves in the roles that you would actually get the job for if you were applying for something. You're going to be so much happier and you're going to fight less and the business will run more smoothly.
Oh, 100%. You're 100% correct.
There's a lot you could say about this subject.
Oh, I know. Yeah. you guys are, I could talk to you guys forever. I'm not just saying that. Like, we really could talk forever. But I want you to promote yourself. Where can people find you? All the things. So, Alex, Kadi, go.
We are most active on Instagram. So at Every Love Intimates. Our website is everyloveintimates.com. We're on Facebook too.
You have a group. You have a group or a couple of groups?
Yeah,
Yes,
no, we have
we do date night challenges and host marriage nights. So
Yeah.
if you're on Facebook, you can check out our group as well.
commit to
I
connect.
just joined the group.
Oh, awesome.
I joined one of them. I don't remember, but I did. Yeah.
Welcome. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, you can join through. It's on our Instagram. There's a link on there, so it's super easy to join. Yeah, we love that group. Oh yeah, and then we'll give everyone who's listening a discount if they would like to try out the our date night box. You can find that on our website, everyloveintimates.com. And we'll do like a 30% off discount.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, and we'll put that in the show notes, or just reach out to us if you need anything. Yeah.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Well, you guys, I will definitely put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for that. That's very generous. I really appreciate that. And my listeners. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, you guys are awesome. Anything else you want to talk about? You want to get off like anything, any plans, any surprises coming up or anything like a Star Wars box or something like that?
No, we're pretty laser.
Coming soon to a galaxy near you. It's out of this world.
You can keep going, can't you?
Yes. Just the right amount of force.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jeez. It's getting worse.
That's
Cut
fantastic.
that one. Just kidding.
No, we've well, I've always struggled with doing too many things. So we're very focused right now on just getting the word out, our subscription, just making boxes. Yeah, we're probably about as focused as we've ever been right now. So we're super excited to just see things grow and reach more people and help people for sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Kadi, Alex. I really appreciate you too. And I love your business model. I think it's a great idea. I think it's going to be big. And I see great things for you guys in the future. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on Marriage LLC Podcast. And we will see you all next time.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.